So again, this is our fifth class, right? We've been together for the past 4 weeks, in which we have covered a number of things. We covered um, some. We've given some introduction about the age, the different ages so far up to the Renaissance and the Elizabethan age. We spoke about the different characteristics of the early modern times, and we set all of that uh, against what we have seen with the medieval times. We had Othello as a representation of the Elizabethan age and the early modern times. And now we're doing the Duchess of Malfi as another example of the early modern times. To be more specific, we're talking about the Jacobean period, the reign of King James I, and we spoke about the play as a representation of just that, in spite of the fact that it is set in Italy, not in England. And we said that there were reasons for that. Just to remember the reasons why an English play has its setting in Italy, not in London or Manchester. Mm. Just to remember why um, a writer like Webster would do that. Why Othello was also set in Venice, of all the cities.
I
Just to
think due
remember
to war.
what? Excuse me?
Due to war.
No, not really. No,
To
not due
avoid
to
eating shopping with the England people,
avoid what?
losing them
Displeasing them. Is this what you're saying?
for exposing them.
Yeah, yeah, let me tweak it a little bit. You don't want to upset the authorities in England. If you see something wrong and you tell them right in the eye that this is wrong, they might not like it. And if they don't like it, they may uh, kind of persecute you. They might investigate and say, "Why are you saying this? You're tarnishing our image. We're better than that." So, in order to avoid all of this, writers would kind of set their plays and novels in places other than their own, um, with ideas, you know, kind of communicating what is happening in their countries. This is one of the techniques that and the schemes that people like Shakespeare and Webster are using. Okay, so we spoke long and enough about the Duchess of Malfi last time. So when I say now the Duchess of Malfi, what comes to your mind? What do you know about the Duchess of Malfi? The play, the character, the atmosphere. Nothing. معقولة? We spent a whole class last time talking about the Duchess of Malfi, unpacking it, talking about its different ideas, talking about the Duchess herself, talking about the main character so far, and the main character so far is Antonio. We spoke about Antonio and how politically savvy he is. We spoke about the idea that he may be groomed for something bigger than himself, which is eventually getting married to the queen of the land. And this is no small feat. So, in order to convince us with that, something has to be given about the character of Antonio. He has to be worthy of this honor, the honor of getting married to the queen of the land. Okay, so we've been prepared for this moment, and the focus is on Antonio and how he assesses the other characters. And he seems to be on top of things. He knows them in and out. He knows what Bisola is all about. He knows um, the how the other characters behave, the brothers of the Duchess, for example, and how rotten and how corrupt they are. He knows a good royal court when he sees one. Remember, he was on a political or a diplomatic mission in France, and he started to make those comparisons between the French royal court and the Malfi royal court and he was, of course, praising the former because of um, its discipline, because of its corruption-free environment, because of how wise the king was. And he obviously, when he talks about the French royal court in and admiring it, obviously he is alluding to the fact that the Malfi court is the complete opposite. Remember those vivid analogies that he was using, and one of them was the analogy of the common fountain, and what he said about every country having a common fountain, and this common fountain is obviously a reference to the royal court. So the common fountain should be clean and pure because it affects the health and the well-being of the entire nation, right? So a royal court is a common fountain. If it's good and if it's clean, it will affect the rest of the population. If it's otherwise, like the Malfi court, there will be problems, right? We have taken all of that, and you don't remember any of that, it seems. I don't know what keeps you busy. Do you have, I'm sure you're taking other courses, of course, but it doesn't mean that you don't remember nothing. ولا إيه? What's the
No, I
problem
think you
is,
remember some stuff.
mm?
No, we do remember.
But you're lazy, you don't want to come to, you're keeping a low profile.
No, I
Mm.
think maybe
You're still asleep or half asleep. Okay, okay. Yeah, no, I'm not taking anything to heart. I like you. You guys are doing an excellent job. ولكن I need you uh, to like that. Like we agreed when we started, I said that I don't want it to be one way where I say everything and I don't allow you to say anything. No, I need it to be bi-directional. You say something and I react. I say something and you react, right? This is this is what we call involvement and engagement. Anyway, let's go on. We spoke about a lot of things so far. Let me just remind you that we started off unpacking the title, The Duchess of Malfi, and you now know that the Duchess of Malfi is the name of the play, The Tragedy of the Duchess of Malfi, and also the name of the main character. Obviously, it's not a name, and the fact that the main character, the Duchess of Malfi, is not given a name is very significant and it's very strategic because she, as you're going to find out, she may be representing women everywhere. I mean, when we talk about the lack of recognition, the fact that women have been maligned for so long, they were not given the rights, no privileges at all. They only came to their own in perhaps the late 19th century and early 20th century. So the Duchess, with whatever happens to her in terms of tragedies, may be representing women always and everywhere. So the Duchess of Malfi, and we're saying it's the tragedy of the Duchess of Malfi, and we spoke about the word tragedy, and we said that it can the meaning of the word can be technical, referring to the dramatic framework that was very prevalent during the time, which is tragedy, and also it can also mean or give it may give the literal meaning, which is suffering and agony, and this is actually what is going to be happening to the Duchess of Malfi again, because she is the protagonist in a tragedy, and protagonists in a tragedy suffer a great deal. Again, it's their trajectory. The trajectory starts with them being happy, with them being on top of things, and they move on, and at the end, they kind of fall from grace, if you like. They fall from favor. They do something in the middle that is provocative, that is um, kind of not in keeping with what we know about them as heroes or sheroes, and they have to pay for that. And pay they they do. So the Duchess of Malfi, and we're talking about love and marriage, and obviously we're talking about the love between the Duchess of Malfi and Antonio and their subsequent marriage. You need to know by now that uh, um, we have a hierarchy, and on top of this hierarchy, you have the Duchess herself, and somewhere towards the bottom of the hierarchy, you have Antonio, one of her stewards, and she decides to get married to him. Obviously, she sees what other peoples may not see in him. He has. She saw the potential in him, and of course, she saw that potential, and that's why she got married to him. We were, as audience, we are also uh, um, given the opportunity to see this potential, to see um, what he's capable of, so that we can say that merit kind of won over privilege or inheritance or legacy. So this is perhaps a new ground, and this is perhaps a breakthrough in relationships during the time. The fact that you can have social mobility. People can start small and they can become big. So Antonio getting married to the Duchess of Malfi is obviously ushering in a new era where it's merit that people think of, it's merit that people reward rather than privilege and inheritance. Okay, so we spoke about all of that. We spoke about the difference between the French court and the Italian court, and of course, the French court is the ideal court, while the Italian court is the real one, which is full of corruption, uh, misdemeanor, and all those kinds of things. Um, Talking about the courts, talking about those different characters in Act One, we come to meet a number of characters. One of them would be Antonio, of course. Another would be the character of Bussola, and we said that Bussola is a representation of the malcontent. And we said that the malcontent is a character that we always see in revenge tragedies. The malcontent is part of the conventions of the revenge tragedy, where you normally have a character who is not very, he is not on top of the social ladder. He is somewhere in the middle, like Antonio, or perhaps smaller than that, and he is given the opportunity to see things by virtue of being employed in the royal court. He is normally very incensed or upset about what is happening, lashing out at the corruption and the people involved in it, presented as perhaps morose and not happy. So this is what we're seeing with the character of Busola. Again, perhaps Busola is even more philosophical and deeper because of the duality in his personality. You cannot really know whether this guy is good or bad. So that's why, in comparisons with characters or with evil characters in other plays, like Iago, for example, in Othello, we normally say that Busola is more profound and more philosophical. And then we had time to talk about the Duchess brothers. She has two brothers, the Cardinal and Ferdinand, and we got to know that the Cardinal is a Cardinal. When we talk about cardinals, you expect them to behave in a God-fearing manner, to stay away from corruption and sinfulness. With the cardinal, we see the complete opposite. He's greedy. All he is interested in is his greed and pursuing his desires. Um, and also Ferdinand is another corrupt character, even more, um, um, profound again. He is evil but profound. He has a point of view and he has a stand. And again, how he um, deals with his sister when he got to know that she got married to what he deems as the wrong guy, obviously casts a lot of doubt over um, how genuine he is in his care and love for his sister. Spoke about Busola and how he is low-born like Antonio, but far from it. He is not as good as Antonio. He's not well-intentioned, at least. It is true that he talks about corruption, but he is ready to be part of it in order to, um, climb up the social ladder. Again, we're talking about Busola, and we are also talking in an indirect way about the character of Antonio, because Antonio is given the opportunity at one point to comment on the character of Busola. And from whatever we get to know about Busola later in the play, we'll find that Antonio was correct in saying this and that about Busola and not believing what he says about the lashing out against corruption. He believes that Busola is corrupt to the core, and you need to take the words of a corrupt person with a grain of salt. You don't believe him because he says something, and the next thing you know is that he is doing the opposite. He talks about mercy, and the next thing you know is that he kills. He talks about corruption, and the next thing you know is that he is doing the cardinal's bidding in terms of embezzlement, in terms of murdering enemies, and all those kinds of things. So if anything, uh, uh, um, Antonio is shown to be a good judge of characters, and that would add to the profile that we're making about him, so that it can be a whole file, a whole qualifying file for us to get convinced that he deserves to marry the Duchess. Again, sometimes you would feel that Busula is torn uh, um, between two things. I mean, between the this acute awareness of the social and moral deficiencies of the patronage system and his longing for social advancement. Um, and then I think this is perhaps where we stopped. Marriage for love, family opposition. So why are the Cardinal and Ferdinand, these are obviously the brothers of the Duchess, why are they so hostile to the prospect of their sisters remarrying? Why do not they allow her to get married? What's wrong with getting married? Obviously, marrying is a legitimate thing. Obviously, um, ostensibly, they care about the family and the family honor, and perhaps she may marry the wrong person in terms of the social hierarchy. This is what they ostensibly care about, but deep down, they have their own agendas. They don't want her to marry so that they can be part of the rule. They want to be part of the throne. Of course, she's a woman. She would need the assistance of her family. So if she gets married to a person that they don't approve of or agree with, then they might not have the privileges that they now have. So both brothers seem to be worried that their widowed sister will succumb to temptation and undertake a marriage that would damage the family honor. They also appear to be afraid that because she is a widow, she is more likely to want to marry a second time. Again, this is perhaps biased. This is perhaps um, having, I mean, saying, alluding to this element of biology, which is not always true. These are all social constructs about women. Uh, um, like I said, their ideas or what their positions and stances are inspired by early modern attitudes about women and family honor. Their fears are in large part fueled by anxieties about female sexuality in general and of widows in particular, who were thought to have a much stronger appetite than men. Again, I'm saying that these are all social constructs, and they were never proven scientifically. And we have examples of those despised attitudes. If we talk about the cardinal, for example, telling his sister that widows' vows never to remarry commonly last no longer than the turning of an hourglass. Again, the meaning is very clear. During the time when a woman married, she moved from a position of legal subservience to her father to being legally subject to her husband. And this is what they are afraid of, that they will have no control over her once she gets married Again, because she will be legally subject. She has to be legally subject to to a male after all. In this case, it is going to be the husband. Again, they are afraid that if she dies, and she has, of course, wealth and money and everything, the husband will inherit that. Again, the idea, this is about the idea of marrying in the first place. Again, what they are worried about is that if she decides to marry, she's not going to marry what they may choose for her. So this is a prospect that clearly worries the cardinal, who warns his sister not to take your own choice, in his own words. Again, what perhaps exasperates the situation for them is the fact that she is the ruler. She is in a position to act independently of their wishes. Um, Again, then they would lift up banners about family honor, but you would ask, what's wrong with getting married? What is so dishonorable about getting married again? This time around, Ferdinand would say quite outright that what they fear is that their sister will marry beneath her. Um, and obviously, this uneasiness about rank is strongly implied in the advice they give her. So this is another problem. The fact that, yeah, if she gets married, perhaps if we say that's fine, people may marry or remarry. We're not sure that she's going to choose the right person. She may marry beneath her rank. And this is, of course, tarnishing the image and the honor of the family, according to Ferdinand. And this is how Ferdinand is warning her about this. Ferdinand is saying, you are a widow. He is obviously addressing his sister, saying, you are a widow. You know already what man is, and therefore let not youth, high promotion, eloquence, um, and then the cardinal would join and say, no, not anything without the addition, honor, sway your high blood. He is trying, and both of them are trying to say that you got married already. You may be prone to temptations of all kinds, like you may be tempted by the youthfulness of the person, how he promotes himself, how eloquent and how much of a sweet talker he is. You need not, uh, you need to keep your guard up because this is tarnishing your high blood. So again, if we talk about high blood, it means that there is this level of class insecurity that the two brothers are feeding. The cardinal, for one, is afraid that she will fall into the arms of a lower class man, which which she did. Later in the play, when the brothers learn that their sister has indeed remarried, they leap to the conclusion that her second husband is uh, of a humble birth, which he is. So, as you can see, cross-class marriages were a no-no during the time, and they constituted a tainting or corruption of families' pure noble blood. So, as you can see, if this happens, if the Duchess eventually gets her way and get married to uh, Antonio, who is lowborn, which she did, this is obviously reflecting unprecedented levels of social mobility. And obviously, this is quite a breakthrough where, as you will see, it's not all about inheritance and good families anymore. It's about merit, whether you deserve or not, whether you work hard for something and you get it or not. Again, what the Duchess eventually does when she gets married to a lowborn uh, is obviously challenging a claim that those in power has always had. The idea that there is a fixed and rigid social hierarchy, and this rigid social hierarchy is divinely ordained. And whatever God decides, nobody should oppose. This is what they think. So if God, according to them, decides that there is a hierarchy and there are people who are high on the social ladder and people who are born low on the social ladder, nobody should come and challenge this system. And if somebody does, there are consequences. Again, what we're seeing here is uh, um, perhaps order, a new order that is not completed, but it is emerging, it is evolving. The idea that you have a new class of people, professionals for the most part, like lawyers and merchants and administrators, who now, fueled by their uh, the Protestant ethos, uh, work ethos, they want to kind of climb the ladder of social mobility and become better than uh, um, what they are now. So there is a measure of legitimacy to what the Duchess is doing. Antonio has merit. Again, this erosion of social hierarchy was accompanied by a heated debate about whether noble blood or personal merit was more deserving of honor. So as you can see, the play is starting something new. The idea that this dominant aristocratic order can be challenged. It is in a state of crisis and it is threatened by people like Antonio, who is an able administrator who captures the heart of a high-born woman more impressed by merit than rank. So again, whatever the two brothers are doing in terms of, you know, undermining the attempts of the Duchess to remarry, whatever they are doing is inspired by both their ideas about women, which are obviously also inspired by attitudes towards women that are very common during the time, and also the idea of class boundaries and class fixed and the fact that people should stick to their places on the social hierarchy. Again, another very important idea that they also uh, that they were also inspired by in their actions is the idea that they believe that individuals shouldn't choose who they marry. Their families should arrange everything. So it's arranged marriages that we still see in countries like, I mean, until very late in the Arab world and perhaps in the Indian subcontinent, to still have arranged marriages on a very large scale. So these are remnants perhaps from that time. So this is one of the ideas that the two brothers are espousing, the idea that a man and a woman do not decide to marry, their families should. Again, this idea that marriage should be arranged and it should be a family business, not the choice of individuals, is obviously this idea is running counter to an evolving idea about marriage that is based on mutual understanding and love and compatibility. So, this companionate ideal of marriage, as proposed by um, the Protestant sect, uh, um, so for the Protestants and the Anglicans were also Protestant, and they are part and I mean, the English are part of the Protestant and the Anglican Church were very much in favor of the idea that marriage is a partnership based on a reciprocated affection. So again, affection and love are new things, and that run counter to the belief that marriages should be exclusively arranged by families. Again, over time, the brothers will uh, um, get to know that whatever they thought of and suspected was true. The fact that she is planning to get married to a commoner. Again, when stressing the fact that of all the other characters, Antonio is given space, and this space is meant to give us insight into the character of uh, um, Antonio. And we get to know that he's a good judge of characters, he's politically savvy, he is a good diplomat. So these are all things that would qualify him in this new age and era to get married to whoever. Obviously, this is running counter to the idea that there are hierarchies, and if you're low born, you shouldn't dare to even think of getting married to somebody above your rank and race and color and everything in between. So the fact that it is he who is selected to provide the audience with this information about the other characters, about the French royal court, endows his character with a considerable amount of authority and also credibility. You think that he is uh, worthy of what will happen to him. I'm talking about the marriage. So in the Duchess of Malfi, Antonio is treated with considerable respect. Not only is he allowed to enlighten the spectators as to the natures of the play's main characters, his merit is emphasized when he is announced as the winner of there was they have this kind of fighting as a game, and he emerged victorious. And this is another measure of also his valor and courage. So, as you can see, by investing the figure of the steward Antonio with so much authority, Webster is presenting a direct challenge to the elitism and caste pride as represented by the Duchess brothers. Of course, we were given the opportunity to see the Cardinal and Ferdinand, the brothers of the Duchess, through the eyes of Antonio. Again, when things unfold, we get to know that that Antonio was correct in his assessment of those characters. That would also add to his credibility between and among us. So Antonio's description of the Cardinal and Ferdinand served to enhance our understanding of the kind of social and political rottenness the brothers embody. What he stresses is the gap between their inner and outer selves. He knows them in and out. He talks, for example, about the cardinal, and he believes that the cardinal may play the role of a brave fellow in company, but underneath he is a melancholy churchman given to inveterate plotting against his enemies and not averse to bribing his way to the top of his profession. So this is what will transpire. We will know that the cardinal is just that. Yeah, he is what Antonio perceives he is. And then Antonio moves and talks about Ferdinand, and he believes that he may be seen as acting the part of a Suv Renaissance prince, but beneath the surface lies a most perverse and turbulent nature. Antonio believes that in his role as a judge, Ferdinand pretends to sleep out the bench only to entrap offenders in their answers. Again, he knows him in and out. Uh, According to Antonio, both brothers are more or less like um, maneuvering actors who use performance to control and dominate others. And then comes the big thing when Antonio talks is given the opportunity to talk about the character of the Duchess and make an assessment of her. Um, Again, whatever he says is proven to be correct about her, especially her valor. Of course, when you talk about her being the paragon of beauty and womanhood, these are things that he wouldn't have dared not to say because, for obvious reasons, he still doesn't know that she wants to marry him, and his duty uh, as a good citizen to show respect for the monarch. So Antonio describes the Duchess as a paragon of womanhood, and obviously he makes this huge distinction. He believes that she's totally different. If he said that uh, the brothers are corrupt, that wouldn't apply to her. She is way better than them. She is clean and honorable and everything. And he gets a little bit hyperbolic when he talks about her beauty, and he says that she's so lovely that it could, I mean, seeing her could cure paralysis. This is obviously a clear exaggeration, overstatement. He also stresses her virtues, like chastity, the fact that she is uh, clean and honorable. Uh, according to him, she may attract men through her beauty and eloquence, but these are coupled with a divine countenance that cuts off lustful thoughts and that endows even her dreams with a purity that other women, including those who have just been to confession, fail to match. I mean, this is obviously an overstatement. Again, the bottom line, she is very clean, she is very honorable, and she's very chaste. He concludes by saying that the Duchess should be a model for other women to copy and emulate. Again, like we said, he is a little bit hyperbolic and exaggerated. Again, that may be uh, there is some inspiration from also the love poetry of the period. So Antonio's praise of the Duchess is clearly excessive. However, this makes it clear that by the time the Duchess begins her courtship of Antonio, we know that he is secretly in love with her. And obviously, he wouldn't dare to kind of reveal this kind of love because he himself knows the boundaries and the barriers. And I mean, he cannot even entertain those thoughts in his mind because of the rigid hierarchy. So it's very significant that she can break this kind of she can break through the boundaries, but he cannot because she's powerful. You know, she's the queen of the land. Again, that would also give us give us some glimpse about when we talk about the Duchess, especially, and the fact that she decides to get married to a lowborn, whether what she's doing is an expression of a willful, wanton, irresponsible nature, like her brothers are saying, or perhaps she's starting something new. I mean, getting married for the right reasons, and the right reasons here would be getting married inspired by and based on merit. So as you can see, I mean, if you look at it from 17th and 16th century perspective, the Duchess is certainly violating norms of femininity and also all kinds of norms. And what makes it even worse, according to the hierarchy of the time, is the one she is the one who takes initiative. She is the one who is courting. She is the one who is proposing to Antonio. And in this regard, she is even bolder than Desdemona, who only hints to Othello that she would welcome his courtship. So, I mean, far from it, the initiative of the Duchess, I mean, courting Antonio, is not the result of an overactive libido, like her brothers are saying. Actually, the Duchess speaks of her own, you know, schemes with admirable common sense, saying to Antonio, "This flesh and blood." She's saying that I'm a flesh and blood human being. So what do you expect of me? I'm not made of stone. I mean, I am a woman. I am in my prime in terms of age. I have everything, and I want to get married. And obviously, marriage is a legitimate thing. Uh, and she's saying it very eloquently to her brother, Ferdinand. She is telling him, why should only I, of all the other princes of the world, be cased up like a holy relic? Why are you casting me in this? You're imprisoning me as if I am a holy relic, a piece, a valuable piece of a gem. Let's say that I am a gem, a piece of jewel and jewelry you're keeping. No, I don't want this. I'm a human being, just like anybody else. And I want to enjoy life, and getting married is one of those life enjoyments. Why are you standing in uh, in my way? I have youth, and I have a little beauty. She's showing even humility here, very well respected. So as you can see, these passages stress the difference between nature and artifice. She believes that I, as a human being, this is my nature. I am meant to go out and get married and have, yani feel life to the full. And you're making something else out of me, an artifice. So it's this difference between the naturalness of a woman's flesh, blood, youth, and beauty, and the way the patriarchal society seeks to transform women into decorative, precious objects that can be locked away and safely controlled. So as you can see, this representation makes women appear humans in flesh and bone and defies the patriarchal mindset predisposed to see women in terms of the binary oppositions of angel and whore. So, and then we have the relationship between Antonio and the Duchess and how it transpires and gets realized, and the expression of love and desire is necessarily muted at the start, but over time it will develop because they get married. So slowly the Duchess builds up to a more open expression of her feelings, declaring her love. And she's telling him, go, go, brag, you have left me heartless. Mine is in your bosom. Very well said. When a woman of and with elegance like her, she's saying, yeah, you should be bragging about, you should be proud of this love. You left me heartless. So, as you can see, the marriage is now presented in terms of harmony and mutuality. The fact that, yeah, she's the queen, she's beautiful, she is everything, and he also worked for it. He has merit. He is good. He is calculating. He is a good politician. He is a good diplomat and everything. So it's a marriage that is based on shared admiration and the desire to raise a family. And this is reflecting the Protestant ethos when it comes to marriage, of course. And again, of course, because this marriage goes against the norms of the time, this marriage is clandestine or secret. Um, and again, that would also perhaps exasperate the situation even. And then Um, you have situations where the Duchess takes the initiative and you see some kind of a reversal of gender roles where you would expect the male to behave in a certain way and the female to behave in a certain way, but this is not happening. The tables are turned where the Duchess is taking initiative. She's the one who declares this kind of marriage. We now are man and wife, and it's the church that must but echo this. She is obviously giving priority to an idea of marriage as a private contract outside the direct control of the ecclesiastical authority. She has it in her because of her position to even comment on how marriage is conducted. Again, this idea of gender confusion is very much at the core of the play. Whereas we have said the courtship starts and ends with the Duchess herself. So, and this is obviously turning conventional gender roles on its head. Um, she's the one who instigates the wooing. She is the one who places the ring on Antonio's finger. And when he kneels in response, she raises him up again. Again, she is obviously in control. Again, that would underscore and stress her powerful position. Again, it's like we said, this is creating um, gender confusion. We would expect him to be more manly, to be more um, of an initiator, but she obviously does all those things on his behalf. Again, there is, because it's a play written in blank verse, you have all types of metaphors, and those metaphors are, they give you hints about what is happening about in the play. We'll stop here and we'll take a 10-minute break, and when we come back, we continue, inshallah. I'll see you in 10 minutes. Okay?
Okay, doctor. Thank you.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, doctor.
Okay, so let's go on. Again, this is where we stopped. We're talking about gender confusion, reversal of gender roles. Whatever we mean by that, we mean that in traditional societies, you would expect the male to take initiative. I'm not saying this, I'm not promoting that, I'm not in favor of that, but I'm just saying what happens in traditional societies. You would expect a male to take the initiative to um, do stuff. You would expect women to be on the receiving end of things. No initiative, no no expectations of her um, to be autonomous, to be responsible, to be entrusted with tasks. So what we're seeing here is the complete opposite, where the Duchess is challenging those traditional gender roles by taking initiative. And we're also seeing Antonio not living up to the expectations of the patriarchal society he represents. He is taking a back seat in this relationship. Um, again, Antonio is presented as perhaps more or less a coward. Um, he is also presented as, like I said, is the one who is on the receiving end of things. He is so surprised by the choice, it seems. Again, what we're seeing is that the Duchess is doing everything in this relationship. Again, this is a complete challenge to the gender roles that we're familiar with. She is extraordinarily defined. She doesn't relent even when her brothers Ferdinand and the cardinal threaten to punish her for if she thinks of having a second marriage. Um, she dismisses them and their threats with withering contempt, saying that if all my royal kindred lay in my way unto this marriage, I would make them my low footsteps. Very daring indeed. If they stand in my way to get married to get married to the one that I choose, I will make of them footsteps uh, um, until I reach this marriage. Very daring indeed. She is making an analogy between herself and men in some great battles who, by apprehending danger, have achieved almost impossible actions. Again, she believes that this is a battle that she has to fight, and obviously unaided. Obviously, Antonio is not helping in any way, which is a quite reversal of gender roles. So she is now entering um, a masculine world of military heroism, um, again, you would expect the male to fight this battle, not the woman. And Antonio does is simply alert. He simply alerts her to the danger ahead, saying, "But for your brothers," and she replies, "Do not think of them. All discord without this circumference is only to be pitied and not feared." She says, "I pity them. I pity their maneuvers, and I don't fear them." Obviously, he is the one who is scared. So this is what we're seeing throughout, where, as you can see, the Duchess is the one who reassures her husband, not the other way around. He, on the other hand, is represented as feeling helpless and overwhelmed by the course of events. He himself is aware of this gender confusion. He knows that he should be doing more. Um, Antonio seems to recognize the gender confusion himself when he says to his new wife, "These words should be mine. I should be the one who does that. I should be the one who says that." And then, in order to perhaps show the enormity of the decisions that the Duchess is now taking, getting married to what society believes the wrong guy because he's lowborn, we're getting the testimony of another person, Cruella, her maid. Uh, she's obviously giving us a fresh insight into the relationship. Um, and Priola is kind of confused herself whether she believes she's torn between believing that this kind of cross-class marriage is catastrophic and is inspired by a wanton desire, or perhaps a daring act. Again, she believes that this is, after all, is a very dangerous enterprise. And this is what Criolla is saying, commenting on this kind of marriage. Criolla is saying, whether the spirit of greatness or of woman reign most in her, I know not, but it shows a fearful madness. I owe her much of pity. She is referring to this kind of union as madness, and she's pitying the Duchess because she knows what the Duchess is in for. She knows that she has uh, to fight the entire society because she is challenging the norms and mores of an entire society. So Cruella is uncertain whether to see the Duchess' bid for self-determination as evidence of her greatness of spirit or her feminine willfulness. Um, okay, other people will, and some of them are scholars, would weigh in and joins in the debate about this daring act upon the part of the Duchess. Wigham, for example, refers to the Duchess as a cultural voyager who arrogates to herself a new role, that of female hero. She is navigating untested waters. She is navigating uh, perhaps contaminated water, waters that are based on hierarchy and social order. She's obviously charting a new territory by deciding to go it alone and get married to someone that the entire society does not approve of. So the Duchess is moving knowingly into uncharted waters beyond the bounds of socially accepted behavior where there will be no clear path to guide her. So it is the absence of models to imitate that she identifies herself with the notion of masculine heroism so integral to her class. Everybody is obviously unsure of what is happening and the trajectory that it will take from now on. And that would be the end of the act. And then we move to Act 2. And with Act 2, we're moving to another stage in the play and its trajectory, which is the idea of discovery. And what do I mean by discovery here? It's the idea that the brothers, Ferdinand and the Cardinal, will get to know, first of all, that their sister got married, and then the fact that she got married to somebody beneath and below her rank, a commoner or a lone wolf. And in order for this discovery to happen, 9 months should elapse, should pass. And the bulk of the second act is taken up with Busola's attempt to determine whether or not the Duchess is pregnant. And during that time, she will have uh, um, given birth to a son. Again, that would also shed light on the fact that she's not only a duchess, she is now a wife and a mother. Again, they are keeping their marriage and the birth of the child a secret. By the end of the act, Ferdinand and the cardinal have received Busola's letter informing them of the birth of the duchess' son. And then we'll see how each of the two brothers is reacting, and we're starting with Ferdinand. Obviously, the two brothers are furious and angry, and they are making explicit the kind of rank-based disquiet uh, that they are that the whole thing is starting. And both of them are going to give vent to misogynist commonplaces. Misogyny is women hating. So obviously, the two of them are, misogynists in the true sense of the word, where they are going to give us some biased opinions and views about women like they did before. So Ferdinand's anger seems different in kind from the cardinal's. The cardinal is shocked by his brother's ravings, as any member of the audience, and his alarmed responses confirm that Ferdinand's attitude to the Duchess is obsessive and pathological. Yeah, uh, this is something that we need to go to and see in Act 2 and see 5 lines 30, 33 and 41, and where you're going to see Ferdinand behaving in a very crazy way, using the meanest of terms against his sister and what she did, to the extent that the cardinal himself is shocked and is surprised by the reaction of his brother. He says, "Yeah, yeah, of course, we're angry and upset and everything in between. But why? Why are you doing this? Why are you carrying it to such an extreme?" So even the brother, the cardinal, is so surprised by the exaggerated reaction of his brother Ferdinand. Um, Again, we had instances before. We saw that coming when we saw Ferdinand telling Pusola that he wouldn't have her marry again. And if she does, she's no more. So there is this blanket hostility to a second marriage, which goes beyond anything voiced by the cardinal. Because obviously the cardinal is more concerned about the prospect of an inappropriate union, and that's it. Again, the rage and this exaggerated reaction by Ferdinand would arouse our curiosity about his motives, giving us a glance about his uh, turbulent, unstable personality. Remember, this is what Antonio told us before about the character of Ferdinand. Later on, when the brothers confront the Duchess, it is Ferdinand whose language is compulsively sexual. Uh, Later on, as we're going to see, uh, the character of Ferdinand is going to appear to what we know about him already will be confirmed through actions and situations later on. Again, the language that he is using is very offensive against his sister and women in general. So, as you can see, it seems that Ferdinand is the play's principal villain, albeit a fascinating one. So, in the play, Webster is allowing us to explore the relationship between love and death from the perspective of the villain, namely Ferdinand. Ferdinand is characterized as a man in the grip of unconscious and taboo erotic longings, meshing with a modern conception of the instability and irreducible complexity of the human personality. And this is obviously the end of it. Still have the rest of the units, and this is actually what we're going to do next time. So, do you have any questions?
I don't have questions for today's lecture, but I have a question for the quiz because there is no, I didn't find any dates, and I asked my colleagues if they know as well. They don't know when is the quiz.
You're talking obviously about the in-class activities, not the quiz, because the quiz is after the midterm. What you have coming is the in-class activities and then the midterm. And I think the schedule of the midterm is out already on the website. Did you check? Do you know when
Yes,
the when is the MTA?
it's either 27 27 October or 2 November because I'm taking two courses, so it's either ways.
Let's say, no, can you check? Can you go and check now?
Yes.
Yeah, go. We'll wait for you.
3 November.
November 3rd, right?
Yes.
Okay. So you still have time. Like I said, um, you need I think do you attend the master classes on time regularly? Because I think Dr. Mustafa shared the dates. Did he share the dates? I think they are on the LMS. Did you check that?
Yes, there are two dates.
Hmm.
Dr. Mustafa shared the date, which is on Wednesday. But
Okay.
on the website today, it's written the quiz is today.
Mm. Quiz is today. Not quiz, in class activity, right?
Yes,
Mm.
it's not the quiz after the midterm as you mentioned. No, it's the inactivity.
It's the in class activity. Okay, I'll talk to him and see, and I'll ask him to perhaps send you an email or something.
Okay, thank
Okay.
you.
Let me, somebody was asking me about what goes into the midterm in terms of, the items. We have Othello, the Duchess of Malfi, and Candide. Okay, Othello, the Duchess of Malfi, and Candide, and whatever introductions there are before each. Is that clear, everyone? The midterm, I'm talking
Yes,
about what
doctor.
the midterm covers. I mean, like I'm saying it covers Othello, the Duchess of Malfi, and Candide. Okay, طيب. On this note and with this item, we come to the end of today's class, and I'll see you next week, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.
وعليكم السلام.